So the latest immigration figures out, and they are dire, but not quite as dire as they were last year. So our insufferable traitorous establishment is going to give themselves a pat on the back, do another couple of victory laps, and we're just going to have another couple of knives stuck in our back. Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, as Matt has pointed out here, immigration is the most important issue in the country. The economy is a very close second at 50 to 49 when people are asked by YouGov. So, this, I mean, and they're deeply, closely intertwined as well. For any leftists who happen to have stumbled on this video, listen, you fucking moron. The evil elite capitalists are employing the impoverished immigrants as a weapon against the working and middle classes. See if you can get through your thick skulls what the connection between capital and immigrants is, and suddenly you realize, well, it's actually not the end, just an unalloyed good to bring in infinite numbers of foreigners. Not that you care about any of those things, because really this is all about destroying Britain to you. But anyway, moving on to our communist prime minister, who's like, under the Tories, net migration reached nearly 1 million. Can you even imagine that? Net migration. So about 500 to 700,000 foreigners a year leave the country, which means they were letting in somewhere between 1.5 to 1.7 million people every year. That is madness, isn't it? It's just sheer madness. Again, it's not like the country isn't massively overpopulated already, but they're like, yeah, we're just going to keep letting people in. And he says, I know you're angry about this, and I promised you I would change it. Okay? Today's stats show we have nearly halved net migration. What, to 500,000? That's still mad. That's still mad. It's like, you lost 5 pints of blood. But don't worry, we've managed it so you're only losing 2.5 pints of blood now. It's like, okay, but this is cumulative. Like, it's like inflation. It's like, inflation isn't 10% now, it's 5%. Okay, but everything still costs way more, and it's still going up. Like, you are not reversing the problem. So this is not something to crow about, you maniac. Absolutely makes, that literally, like, yeah, look, we've got net migration almost half to 431,000. 431,000 net allowed in. So that's 1 million, right? More than 1 million probably let in overall last year. But 600,000 or so left. Okay, but why are we still cramming in as many people as we can? Right? It would make sense at this point to sit back and go, you know what, right? Whatever the problems we thought immigration were going to solve must have been solved by 15 million net new people coming into the country, right? Since 1997. The population's increased by about 15 million, mostly due to immigration, almost overwhelmingly due to immigration. In fact, the number of English people in England has remained relatively static. In fact, it's gone down a very small amount. It's immigration that's causing the population growth. Did that solve any of the problems? Well, no. All of our problems are way worse than they ever have been. Like, problem getting on the NHS, yep, way worse than it ever has been. Problem getting on public services, way worse than it ever has been. Problem getting a job, way worse than it ever has been. Problem getting a house, way worse than it ever has been. Problem with your rent, way worse than it ever has been. Adding people to the country is not the answer, right? If there's any lesson we can take from this, that is it. Simply allowing people into the country does not solve any of your problems. No matter what you think it is, just cramming people into an already overpopulated country is not the answer. Like, there's literally nothing that immigration was supposed to solve that it has solved. What about the growth? What happened to our GDP? What happened to the incredible economic growth? What was it? 0.3 or something? 0.1? I can't remember. No growth. So the population's going up and the growth is just flatlining. Sorry, what? It's not the answer. Immigration is not the answer to any question, so stop it entirely. We do not need more people in the country. It's that simple. We just don't need them. We haven't got the space for them. There's no point bringing them in because they don't solve any of the problems. So whatever you think the answer is, it's not immigration. And the thing is, right, so they're all like, yeah, I solved the immigration crisis. No, you haven't. I've halved net immigration. Yeah, to levels that would have been record levels were it not for Boris and the Boris wave, right? If it wasn't for Boris, this would be record immigration and it would be backbreaking immigration. And the Conservatives are trying to take credit for it. Like, multiple Conservative MPs have come out and been like, well, this is thanks to me, says James Cleverly and Swallow Raven and whoever else. It's thanks to me, measures we, the Conservatives, put in place. Okay, but why did you put it up to nearly 2 million people in a year? Like 1 million net, like 1.7 million, whatever it was. Why did you do this? Like, why did you do this to us? It's because you're all thick as bloody shit, isn't it? Like, this is not a victory, you morons. This is a deep embarrassment about how much of a defeat the British people are suffering at your hands. I mean, look at this, right? Look at the scale of it on this graph. Like, back in the 90s, in fact, in the early 90s, it was negative. We had net outflow of people, right? But look at that, 50,000 people. Can you even imagine 50,000 people being the net immigration? But then, of course, Blair comes in, 120, 150, blah, blah, goes up to over 200, nearly 300K. God, that's bad. And the country starts going downhill from that point onwards. And it gets over 300K under the Tories, but it's still not too bad. And then during COVID, but remember, right, before COVID, we were still going, look, immigration is way too high. Immigration is way too high. The country is changing in a way that we just don't want it to change, so please stop doing this. And so COVID, it went down to 100,000 net. That's still a lot. 100,000 net still came into the country when we were all locked in our houses. And then for some reason, Boris said, yeah, ramp it up, 500,000. So that's about where we are now, after you got up to nearly 1 million for 2 years running, then down to 700 plus K, and now we're back down to 500K, 430K. Like, this is not a win. This is us still just getting slammed with hordes of foreign migrants. Like, Swindon is 270,000 people. So that's nearly twice the size of my entire large town every year, just being slapped on top of what already exists here. And as if people don't look at the high streets and go, wow, I feel like an alien in my own home because there are just 1 billion foreigners here. And I mean, just literally, they just walk past, they're gibbering in foreign languages. And it's like, what am I doing here? Where am I? I haven't moved. How has this happened to me? And it's because all of our governments, since Tony Blair, have just been like, yeah, open borders, actually, obviously, which makes sense because that solves all of the problems, which it clearly doesn't. So we've arrived at a point now where the narrative is going to be, well, Labour have solved immigration. What happened? Well, they got it down to 500,000 a year, roughly. So, you know, and by the way, you can never take these figures at face value because obviously they're not counting illegals, they're not counting the boat migrants across the channel. But also, these are provisional estimates. For the past 2 or 3 years running, they just get revised upwards, right? They get revised up. So this will go over 500,000 when the revision comes in, by the way. So I'm just going to call it 500,000. And that's legal, obviously. A third of those will be actual workers, not that we need workers. But most of them will be dependents and students. Brilliant. Just great. That's exactly. Anyway, the point being, this will be revised up and nothing will have changed. And we will be in the same position that we were, only it will be like after Brexit. Because after Brexit, one of the main reasons people voted for Brexit was to take back control. We wanted to stop immigration. We'd had enough. Because again, I mean, you can see up until like 2015, 2016, like this is millions of people when you add it up. This is millions and millions and millions. It's averaged about 250K a year for 20 years. That's millions. And then, okay, bam, Boris wave hits. For some reason, they just ramp it up. But right about here, like this sort of area, people thought that immigration was being dealt with until suddenly their high streets are completely flooded and there are Turkish barbers everywhere. And they're just like, okay, this is a real problem. This hasn't been solved. But after Brexit, immigration became one of the lowest concerns for people, if you go back to how important these things are, because it seemed that we had taken the action we needed to take to deal with immigration. And I'm worried that this will be the case in people's minds now. They'll hear numbers have gone down, will be the repeated refrain from the media, and they'll go, oh, okay, well, that's solved. And then they'll look around and things will be worse than ever. Because remember, this is not numbers down. This is a reduction in the increase in growth. So, okay, it's not going to increase by 800, 900,000, 1 million a year. It's going to increase by 500,000 a year. So all the Boris wave gets to stay. All of this just adds up layer upon layer upon layer. and nothing will get any better. So it will not look any better. So, I mean, hopefully people recognize this, but who knows what the propaganda will do, right? So just keep this in your mind. This is not a reduction in the number of immigrants in the country. It's a reduction in the growth of the number of immigrants in the country, but it's still record levels if you ignore the Boris wave. We're still here. Way more than anywhere else at any point in time in the last 25, 30 years. Like, this is mad. How they're like touting, oh, we're so brilliant. We've got it. We've halved immigration. Oh, brilliant. To record levels. Just incredible. It's incredible how you can manage that, isn't it? But anyway, the point being, the immigration numbers are out and they're terrible. They're atrocious. They're really, really bad because it's really, really bad. And what needs to happen is the spigot needs to be turned off. Zero immigration. We do not need people in. So 700,000 a year can leave and the country can breathe again. Actually feel like it might become a livable place again. The house prices going down again. The rent prices going down again. The number of actually available jobs going up again. And another thing to do on top of that is just to encourage people to leave. Just turn off the free money. Stop giving immigrants benefits. Stop giving them any kind of benefit. Because being born outside of the UK should mean you are never going to qualify for free money from the British taxpayer. That's what that should mean. You will never get benefits here. So you can come here and work, assuming the government will let anyone in. Come here and work, okay, that's fine, I can understand it, but you don't get to just sponge off of us. But anyway, I'm not going to go on forever because it's just, I just find it so insufferable how even in the claims of victory, we just look at defeat after defeat.